welcome to today's webinar, Protecting Your Content in an AI-Powered World. I'm Teresa Resick, Vice President of Education here at AIIM, and AIIM is your host and producer of today's event. And Box is the underwriter of our webinar today, and we thank them very much for their support. And certainly thank you for taking the time to join us today. Joining us live today is Kurt Romer, who is the Chief Security Strategist at Box. And a short while back, Kurt hosted a roundtable discussion with two of his colleagues, Ravi Malik, who is the CIO of Box, and Manoj Asnani, the Vice President of Security and Compliance Products, also with Box. Right now, I just want to kick things off by letting us start going into watching this conversation Kurt has had with his team on information security.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today, we're taking a look at the intersection of two major forces in the tech world, cybersecurity and the rising presence of AI-powered tools. I'm Kurt Romer, Chief Security Strategist with Box, and I'm joined today by Ravi Malik, Box's Chief Information Officer, and Manoj Asnani, Box's VP of Security and Compliance Products. We'll all be taking a look at helping to break down how the advent of AI is impacting organizations' security postures and looking forward at some of the changes, opportunities, and threats that could be on the horizon. Welcome, Ravi.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Before we dive into security specifically, tell me the kind of impact you're seeing from AI on day-to-day operations.
Wow. It's going to be hard to encapsulate that in the short time that we have, but I'll do my best. It is changing many areas of businesses in a way that we haven't really seen, and doing so in rapid fashion. It seems that what I've seen certainly from an external landscape is there are folks that are falling into one of two buckets. They're the folks that have figured out, I'm going to embrace this, I'm going to do some policies and put some guidelines and figure out how I'm going to leverage this in my business. And then there are others that have said, no, I'm going to block it. I'm not quite sure what the ramifications are. And so I'm just going to wait until either the regulatory side figures it out, or I have a really well-defined box, so to speak, that I can contain it and play with it. It is really one of the first, the first aspects, and we're really talking about kind of the chat GPTization of AI that has elevated AI from what I'd say is like the infrastructure level into the hands of each and every user, and that's something that is pretty rare. Obviously, the adoption rate has been phenomenal. And what you see is, again, another sort of rare instance where you have something that not only can drive productivity at the user and individual level, but at the enterprise level as well. And you can have this sort of meet in the middle of value of being able to define use cases at the enterprise level and being able to have users define their own individual use cases for their role and responsibilities. Everything from generating scripts, for automation, to generating marketing copy, to generating agendas, to reviewing documents, complex documents, and being able to synthesize, that content into easily absorbed and retainable data points. Like all of that, it is so many different aspects that is being applied in so many different ways, again, relative to the individual user as well as relative to the enterprise.
As you talk about IT being in the middle, and I love that phrase, how do you look at IT helping to operationalize AI and generative AI?
Yeah, I love that question for a number of reasons. Again, I think IT, has been put in a leadership and an opportunity to help define the value that can be extracted and be gained from from generative AI. I think people are looking for guidelines and and advice on how to do it, particularly in the enterprise, in a secure manner. A lot of the concerns that I hear about, from other CIOs and other CISOs are data oriented, particularly with respect to how that data moves and who has access to it internally, but also, is it being leveraged externally? Is my competitor now going to have access to a model that they can use to get a leg up? I think IT and security are in the position to be able to say, look, here's how we want you to use it, and enable people in a productive and secure way. But they have to take that leadership. Technology, particularly this kind of technology, is it's kind of like water in a stream. You can try and put rocks into it, but people are going to figure out how to flow around and leverage it to their benefit.
Very much so. As you're out there consulting on AI and you're working with the business, what departments and portions of the organization do you see will be able to take the most advantage of AI right now?
I think honestly, it's less of a which department or kind of business versus which type of person or which type of leader. I think every area has the opportunity to take advantage of it and leverage it in a way that improves efficiency or drives value. I think it's really going to be more about the mindset, the people that take the right mindset and understand how they can leverage it for their particular area, whether it's HR, it's marketing, it's IT, it's security, it's operations, customer service, or product development. I think it's going to be the people in that organization, the leaders of that organization, I think, that are really going to be the influencers and driving factor.
Yes, and as you see people approach AI in a different way, and they're now looking at their data not just as file systems, but they're actually looking at the content, the meaning back behind the content. How do you see the organization help to work with AI to manage content and be able to really leverage the power of AI with a content focus?
Yeah, this is critical, I think, to being able to get the most value and leverage, particularly generative AI, the most that you can. Content or unstructured data is really the feeding force into generative AI being useful and being productive for people. I think it's going to force, and I certainly see this, with our customers and other, companies, how they're thinking about content and unstructured data has to change and is changing. From a point of view of, hey, I just need some place to put this content, to, wait a second, how am I going to manage it? How am I going to secure it? How do I make sure that it is governed appropriately and the right people have access to information that's useful for them, but also they are unable to gain access to information that they shouldn't necessarily have? So I think it's really forced and will continue to force companies to rethink their content space, and I think it's going to elevate it in the overall IT strategy. Data, structured data, rows and columns has been part of, I think, an overall IT strategy, or even any business strategy, probably for the last 10 to 15 years. Unstructured data has sort of kind of been on the sidelines. I think now you have to take the same approach. You have to have a strategy around unstructured data, and what is the platform that you're going to leverage in that space.
And as you're talking about security and extending it to security, compliance, privacy, and even safety as AI interfaces with a lot of our physical environment, what are some of the big issues that you see, and what are some of the top opportunities that other CIOs should be considering?
Oh, Wow, opportunities that CIOs should be considering, and whew, there's so many. I mean, it's hard. If prioritization was hard before, it's going to be even harder now. Um, I think the way CIOs need to look at it is enterprise level and user level, right? I think to my earlier comment, you have the opportunity to have this, very kind of value driven meet in the middle. So, making sure that you don't lose sight of the flexibility that people need in order to leverage it for how they see fit, but also that, hey, there are definite enterprise use cases that can be driven, from a more top down approach. Um, Honestly, I think if CIOs and CISOs, if they're not thinking about it, they're losing out on the opportunity. And I think it is one of those things that can really shift the landscape, and in many cases change the ground under which a company is operating, elevating a good company to being great, um, and maybe in some cases relegating a great company to just being good.
Yes. And then you have your workforce as well. Do you see AI as being something that will humanize computing for better or for worse?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It is. Uh, it's interesting that you think about the evolution of computing, and I don't want to get too geeky here, but right, like for so long there's been such an emphasis on UI design, right, and the elegance of it and flow, and right, depending on your use case, like where do you place things on the screen and how do you enable productivity by how the screens are flowing. And now you have like you synthesize that. And before that, right, it was text-based input, right, was the UI, kind of the early UIs, and before that, punch cards, whatever. But now you've gone back to now this elegance and simplicity of using using language as your UI and input. And yeah, I think that creates a much more human dynamic to computing. And I think it also can, will potentially, I think it already is changing the view of what a technical expert is and who a technical expert is, right? From, hey, are you really good at coding and and understand infrastructure and all those things, to like, hey, how good are you at using the language, right? How good are you at writing a prompt? And that, so it's definitely interesting and fun and exciting.
Yeah, prompt engineering is definitely one of my new favorite
Yes.
terms, and something that I've been personally focusing on. Get good at that. Some interesting things can
Yeah.
happen. One final question for you along those lines, Robbie. Are organizations ready for this?
Yes and no. I mean, honestly, I don't know anybody who really was ready. Could honestly look themselves in the mirror and say, yeah, we were ready for generative AI, chat GPT, whatever it may be. That said, I think, organizations are getting themselves ready. And again, I think the ones that are embracing it and evolving and have figured out, okay, this is something that definitely, we may not have all the answers now, but we know it's going to be material. And so we're going to experiment and allow people to dip their toe into it. I think those are the ones that are definitely going to win out. And part of that is to educating their employees, educating the folks in their community, and how to use it, and how to effectively think about it. I think it's going to be an equalizer in many areas, and close the gap of skill sets. But it's all going to be about what is the approach, and how is it going to be enabled and put in the hands of people that can best use it.
Thanks for those great insights, Ravi.
Cool. Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate the time.
Next up, I'm joined by Manoj. Manoj, looking forward to hearing some really incredible things from the product side here. So Manoj, how does Box look at the integration and implementation of AI, and what kind of security standards does Box uphold?
Yeah, very good question. With the proliferation of AI and an accelerated adoption of AI technologies, it's even more important today to secure customers' data. At Box, we follow very strict guidelines and principles on how that data is going to be used by AI. First of all, we provide our customers with full control and seek explicit approval for usage of their data. Second, we give our customers full transparency on the process and how that output was achieved. Third, we have complete commitment to data security and to maintaining the high security standards that all of Box's products live up to. We have further details on our website where we lay out clear and detailed principle of AI for if you want further details.
Yeah, thanks. So standards and principles provide a great foundation. And as we take a look at AI moving forward, you're seeing AI popping up in just about everything these days. But what are some specific use cases that you personally see where AI could be used to leverage or actually even improve an organization's security posture?
Yeah, another great question, Kurt. There's actually a number of use cases. Well, first off, AI has already been used for a number of years to help detect malicious activity. Box Shield, for example, uses deep learning to identify malicious content entering your Box account, as well as detecting anomalous user behavior that could be indicative of a compromised account. This is a great example of how AI has already been changing, and how we protect content will only continue to improve. Now, looking a little bit into the future, one opportunity to leverage AI is through intelligently classifying documents. By crafting the right prompts, AI can be used to identify content at a much deeper level than simply recognizing the presence of certain PII. And instead, analyzing the patterns within the document to say, for example, this is a customer contract, this is a resume, this is an M&A document. Being able to automatically identify the types of content and classify it can drastically reduce the burden of maintaining proper document classification. And this area is especially top of mind for our customers today, because this automation can drive efficiencies in an environment where the security talent is at a much more premium these days.
Yeah, that's great. Let's dig in a little bit more on the security posture aspect. So in the past, historically, the IT organization, the security organization have really set the cybersecurity posture. Moving forward, taking a look at security maturity, taking a look at how security is pervasive throughout the organization, and even how security ties into culture. How do you see AI benefiting this, Manoj? How do you see it really changing the security posture for an organization and guiding it?
Yeah, there's a tremendous opportunity here as well, Kurt, for AI to add value to improving an organization's security posture. For example, we can use AI to drive predictive intelligence on security hygiene and the likelihood and impact of a security breach that an organization might have. Specifically, AI can help assess the risk of an enterprise getting compromised based on the configuration of the systems, behavior of organization's user, and the security controls they have in place.
So Manoj, as we talk about all the promises and concerns of AI, are organizations ready for this?
Great question, Kurt. Do I think organizations are ready for this? I think there are some aspects of AI and how the data is being used and how the output is being generated still need to be figured out. However, I think there's an even better question to be asked here. Do the organizations need this? Do the organizations need AI for security? And the answer from my point of view is absolutely yes. Security is not a human scale problem. We need AI, we need automation to help us solve this deep security challenge. And AI is absolutely essential for us to solve security at a holistic level.
No, thank you very much for that, Manoj. It's great to have you advancing the products that we use every day to make sure that organizations across the world are protected in the best possible way.
Thanks for having me.
This is definitely an exciting time to be in security, and probably even more exciting than it's been over the past few decades. It's really going to redefine how cybersecurity operations work as well as capabilities. And much appreciated, great insights, and thank you all for joining us today.
Well, that was a really interesting video, and I have a lot of questions myself that I've jotted down. And I'm invite everybody else in the audience if you have additional questions, please pop them into the chat or the Q&A feature, because we have with us live right now Kurt Romer, who had facilitated that conversation, and he's here with us live right now. Hey, Kurt, how are you doing today?
Hi, Teresa. Doing great. Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to jump right into some of these questions that we have here, and um, that I just want to put out first with everyone. Um, about that, I think my connection just jumped there. Um, Minot had talked specifically about standards and principles. And one of the things that I wanted to point out that in the resources and the link that we've put into the chat, um, uh, Kurt and his team has provided links to the Box AI principles. And so if you go to that resources link that's in chat, and what I have up on the screen are also what's on that page. So just hoping that's going to give you some additional resources to help you as you work through the challenges that we're having here. And so, Kurt, one of the things that Ravi had mentioned when he was talking about IT taking the leadership on this, what about those who are not CIOs or not CISOs, who might not even be in IT? How can they engage the leadership or be part of the leaders on AI initiatives?
Yeah, AI is very much a pervasive technology and one that can be utilized throughout the business. In fact, we see a lot of the breakthroughs in terms of AI usage coming from outside of IT and influencing what IT is doing in many ways. If you think about it, the IT organization was set up to manage some very complex technologies that took a lot of setup and a lot of explanation, a lot of care and feeding. The interface with AI is something all of us can jump in and interface with right now. And it's only getting easier as you have natural language models. So if you're not utilizing AI today to provide you insights, to give you news, to help you with decisions, to be a sounding board, do it. Try it out, regardless of who you are, what you're working with. Don't put sensitive content out in AI against your organization's policies, but use AI both personally and professionally as much as you possibly can. It will only benefit you.
Um, Pradeep asks, what is the best area to utilize AI in security to bolster our controls or in activities like threat hunting? What is the best area to start with?
So it's going to depend on the maturity of your organization, but one of the best places in my mind to start utilizing AI for security is to go out and look for vulnerabilities and threats and risks against your organization. If you think about it, you might be hiring security analysts or red team members or others to go out and proactively find threats. They only have a certain amount of time during the day that they can do that. AI can do that continuously, and it can constantly be learning and correlating events and activities across the organization that may take days, weeks, or even months sometimes for humans to pull together or realize that the correlation exists. So that's a great place to utilize AI. You can also utilize AI to analyze your code quality, and that's providing some really great insights today.
Daniel asks in the Q&A, the term prompt engineer was used during the discussion. What, where do you see that role going in the near and mid future?
Which role was that?
The term prompt engineer was
Oh,
used in the
prompt
discussion.
engineering, yes. So as you're interfacing with AI today as a chatbot, you're interfacing with prompts. So you're basically asking questions, building on the questions, and structuring the questions in a certain way to be able to get the level of detail that you're looking for. And you can always go back to AI and ask for more detail. That's one of the great things, or expand on this particular attribute of the response. But the better that you can construct a prompt, the better that you can ask the question, the more specific and better answer AI will provide. So prompt engineering is a really great way of getting what you want out of AI, and it's something that we all need to learn. Funny thing is, the technologists struggle with this a lot more than the people who have, let's say, more of a liberal arts degree. And studies have shown that liberal arts majors are many times better at asking questions related with prompt engineering. So if you don't quite think that way, get together with somebody who thinks completely differently than you and figure out how you would ask the prompts. It's actually a fun little game to play with your team. You'll get a lot out of it.
Kathy asks in the Q&A, generative AI, workflows, content searches, and data analysis methods are all now referred to as AI. When and Kurt, when you're specifically talking about AI, which portion of this, what exactly are you referring to?
So I'm referring to all of it as the generic industry term. So when you look at artificial intelligence, you have several different waves, and we've been working with machine learning, where the machines are determining baselines and giving you insights, and really being able to provide for reporting and that level of detail. But it's based on known patterns over time. Then we've gotten into this wave of chat GPT. So you've got interactive working with an artificial intelligence large language model, and you're asking questions. Generative AI is where the artificial intelligence is actually generating content. So you can say, I want a video that has a cat carrying a security token and going through an open door. You can do all kinds of amazing things today, as well as ask the questions that we all know and have AI write a policy for you, or update a policy, or write a book or a chapter. Um, After that, AI is going to be more augmentative and working as a co-pilot. So it might be helping a security team member look into an incident or look into a particular uh, attack or attack pattern in a lot more detail and provide them insights, really acting as a coworker and then evolving into a coach. Autonomous AI is the next level, and it's where AI acts on its own, which can be tremendous from a security perspective. But also today, we typically set up the rules for all of our security appliances and security services. AI is going to be making up its own rules. You need to make sure that it's ethical, that it's acting in terms of your culture, and that you're factoring in a lot of things you did not think about right now. And then, of course, you get to the AGI model, the artificial general intelligence, where AI basically takes over, and you can go watch the Terminator and Skynet and Mad Max and all the other movies and see how that turns out. But there are several different waves of AI, and we need to think of all of them differently and understand the advantages and limitations of each of the waves, and when you're going to be making the transition to the next wave to help to support your business and help to advance security.
The idea of being ready was mentioned, and um, a couple of questions on this. And we talked about how important it is to be ready for AI and for working with AI securely. What are the perils or the cautions of not being ready or not being ready enough?
Oh, that's a really great question. So being ready has several different states to it. And today it's being aware of AI, being aware of its limitations, being aware of its usefulness in the organization, but also being able to set up guardrails to say, here's where I'm not really comfortable having AI act today or utilize this type of information. And then understanding when you set those guardrails, also put some comments in there of why you set the guardrails. What were some of the conditions? Because you will be continuously revisiting these decisions over time as AI advances and takes on more capabilities. AI can also be set up more specifically so that it's not just a everything's exposed to the internet model, all your data goes out there. You can have AI set up in an area where it's just working with your legal documents or just working for a specific department or a certain set of customers or a certain level of data. Maybe it's confidential and under. And so you need to understand from a readiness perspective, do you have those definitions in place? Do you have the control environment in place? Do you even know what you need to control and have that to where you can specify it, where AI can learn and help to let you know where it thinks it might be crossing policy boundaries or it doesn't have a clear policy boundary to work within. And so it's great to utilize AI as well as an auditor and as something that can help us be ready and help us understand where maybe we're not ready today.
And what percentage of organizations do you think are ready for AI right now?
I would say really 100% of organizations are ready for AI today. Are they prepared? No, but they're definitely ready.
Important distinction, prepared versus readiness. Um, I have the next question I have on this. I'm going to talk about cost, but I don't mean like the cost of a particular product or, or pricing. I don't want to get into that. But what are your thoughts on the cost of AI to an organization in terms of planning? Do you foresee any major shifts in pricing coming? Just more on that higher level standpoint of talking about organizational cost.
Yeah, AI models are very expensive to put together. And so we see most organizations working with existing developed models from some of the big players out there. We do see organizations that are trying to set up their own models. Some have done so successfully, but they've gone in with a plan in place. And it is extremely expensive because you have to get all of the graphics cards and GPUs to be able to do the processing. It requires an incredible amount of storage, very fast infrastructure. And even if you're utilizing someone else's model, typically you're paying per token. So as you're asking AI questions and interacting with prompt engineering, you're paying for those sessions. You need to have some guardrails in place to make sure that your organization's not asking questions that are going out of bounds. And particularly if you have that are exposed to AI, that those APIs have very specific boundary conditions with them so that you're taking into account your financial picture as well.
A question from Pradeep. What is the best area to utilize AI in security to bolster our controls or in activities like threat hunting? What is the best area to start with? Oh, I feel like we already answered that. I'm seeing this pop up in a couple places here.
Yeah, we did answer that from a
Yeah,
threat
it's
hunting perspective, but you can take a look across your organization from a learning perspective. AI can definitely help people look at insights. You can have it analyze reports. You can go through and ask, as we're threat hunting, what areas did we not consider?
apologies. I'm looking at 3 different windows for the way different questions are coming in. So sorry, I didn't immediately realize that was a duplicate there. Um, we're listening to Kurt Romer, who's the Chief Security Strategist at Box, and I'm going to have Kurt come back in a few more minutes. Um, and, but one of the things that I would like to talk about right now is that, as you may have heard, is AIIM annual conference is coming up soon, and we're going to be in San Antonio, Texas. The first week of April. And if you go to the aimconference.com website, you're going to see the agenda, the list of speakers, the keynotes. We have pre-con sessions. We have a week packed of good education and good learning and good networking opportunities. And one of the sessions that's going to be there is Juan Sanchez, and Juan is the CIO of Intelios. And Juan is going to be doing a presentation talking about transitioning to the cloud with confidence, Intelios's journey to Box. And so right now, I'm just going to air run just a brief 2-minute opportunity for Juan to talk about what his session is going to be and how Intelios made the decision of using Box.
Hey everyone, my name is Juan Sanchez. I'm the CIO at Intelios. I've been there for 5 years, and as far as my role in information management, in general as a CIO, I think it touches all sorts of aspects of this. In my career in the past, I've been involved with information architecture development at other organizations, with obviously database and file organization in the systems underlying all that. But certainly now as a CIO, it runs the gamut all over the organization, essentially, right? Everywhere we're keeping information, and it needs to be organized and it needs to be findable. My session at the conference is titled Transitioning to the Cloud with Confidence, Intelios' Journey to Box. And as the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about how Intelios made the move to Box, and we eliminated all of our traditional file server storage mechanisms that we had relied on for years, the legacy systems that we had. In the session, I'm going to go over sort of when this happened for us, which was right in 2020 as the pandemic was happening, and how I think that improved our chances of success. I'll go over some of the key features that Box offered and why we at Intelios selected Box over some of the competitors like Google Cloud or Dropbox, etc. OneDrive. We're a Microsoft shop, so we could have gone with OneDrive, but we didn't. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll cover some of the costs and security benefits that I think any of these cloud providers bring. I'll highlight some things around Box because it's the platform I'm most familiar with. And then finally, we'll talk about how moving to one of these providers really has helped us from a scalability and global reach perspective in our ability to share files anywhere in the world while adhering to some of those compliance regulations that you might find as you move around the planet in storing files. So I hope you'll join me for the session. I think it's going to be good and practical.
I just want to thank our underwriter Box. Without support from our solution providers, AIM wouldn't be able to bring you these free educational programs. So thank you very much. And as we bring this webinar to a close, I did say that I was going to have Kurt come back and leave us with some closing thoughts. And Kurt?
Thanks, Teresa, and thank you everyone for attending. As we take a look at the power of AI, it's important more than ever to stay curious. Be asking lots of questions, engage your community, and engage your trusted advisors. Ultimately, I see AI as being able to answer the questions that we never thought to ask in the first place. And from a security perspective, that is going to be tremendous. We really need AI in security. We really need some innovation here. Let's do this together. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Kurt from Box. For AIM, this is Teresa Resick, and we will see you with our next webcast.